Hello everyone, welcome to our first edition of the show. The title of the show is called Youth Unfiltered, and this is where we speak our truth, share the struggles, and inspire people. So basically today we will be talking about the pitfalls of drugs and the relationships and matters of life, the youth life basically. And I'm not alone in the studios. I'm blessed with one amazing guest who is an inspiring motivational speaker, a life coach, a teacher, COP ambassador. He's a blessed guy. I don't want to talk more about him, but I'll give him time to introduce yourself. Welcome so much. Feel free, say something.
My name is Ren Mwangi. As you've heard, I'm a teacher, I'm a COP ambassador, a life coach, a motivational speaker, a pastor, husband. I hold so many titles. So if
Sure.
I continue, maybe I'll not be able to finish them within this session.
Sure.
But it's very important that we talk issues to do with our young people,
Sure.
because young people form the backbone of this country
Sure.
and the backbone of this continent.
Sure.
So wherever you're watching us from and whoever it is that you're watching us, please know that we are going to talk about you and we're going to talk to you.
If you can share the personal journey and how you have been able to overcome addiction, because we find that most of the youth, they are addicted, and they dwell in such activities that involves addiction, maybe addiction in different perspectives. So you'll basically share your personal journey and talk a little bit of addiction.
Thank you very much. When we talk about addiction, many people tend to think that addiction is just basically about drugs and substance use. But addiction comes in many ways. For me, before I became a COP ambassador, which is Child Online Protection Ambassador, I was so much hooked on my smartphone.
Okay.
And when you're so much hooked on your smartphone or on your gadget, it actually steals away the productive time that you're supposed to be doing productively in something that is meaningful or gainful. And you find that quite a number of times I would be hooked on my phone for, let me say, 12 to even 18 hours instead of doing something that is important. You find that the recommendations that have been put there by experts when it comes to how we use our phones, for example, they say that you're supposed to leave your phone in your sitting room 1 hour before you go to sleep. Again, because our smartphones have the blue light, which actually can interfere with the production of the hormone that is responsible for sleep. Again, you'll find that when you're supposed to be doing something, for example, I'm a teacher, I'm supposed to be marking or teaching or something like that, you will find that you will not be able to do such kind of a thing because you are hooked on your smartphone instead of doing that. But addiction comes in many ways. There are people who are addicted to pornography, watching substances that are X-rated. People who are addicted to smoking. People who are addicted to many things. And why we are stressing this is because 75% of Kenya's population is youth or young people.
Sure.
And 60% of Africa's population is made up of young people. These are productive ages. In fact, the median age in Kenya is about 20 years, meaning actually a half of Kenya's population is below 20 years. If you look at how we use our phones, for example, you will find that close to 25 million Kenyans have smartphones. They have access to smartphones and internet. That is basically a half of Kenya's population. And as we have said, the 20 years, basically makes up a half of Kenya's population. So that basically says that majority of these Kenyans will be hooked up to things that they're not supposed to be hooked up, and they will learn things that they're not supposed to learn. So addiction will come in different ways, but we have to know how to beat this addiction, and that is why we are having this show.
Let's talk about the phone addiction. We understand that most of the youth now, with the social media, it's a platform that is creating a job for them. Because if you can go to town on a Sunday or Saturday, you'll find so many youth in the streets shooting TikTok videos, reels, so that they can share and get inspiration and get a lot of things from that. But when you look again on the other side, on the same, this youth use social media in another perspective, because we are talking about they're going beyond what is expected. So what can you tell that particular youth who is using social media to as a platform, and the other one who is using social media in the other perspective,
in another bad way?
In another bad way?
Let me say this. Social media is good.
Sure.
Because we get to learn and we get to get news and information in a faster way as compared to the traditional means of getting information. But I have a problem with the way we use our smartphones, or basically how we are addicted to technology, and specifically the use of smartphones.
Sure.
It is true that our young people are using smartphones for gainful employment. But I want to give you some facts, and I want to give our viewers some facts. Kenya used to be an hub of manufacturing some few years ago.
Okay.
We used to manufacture a lot of products that we would sell, actually we would export to our neighboring countries. But that has slowly changed to a situation whereby we are losing that competitiveness to other countries. Majority of our young people want to dance in front of smartphones for TikTok likes, for social media likes. And everyone wants to dance. Even those who do not know how to dance, they want to dance because they think maybe that is the right way to do it. When you talk about dressing, dressing is an issue that elicits a lot of emotions, because we have to determine here, do we follow church doctrine, which is an established code of conduct of doing things, or do we follow what the Bible teaches about dressing? Because if you look at the Bible specifically addresses the issue of a man not wearing a woman's dressing and a woman not wearing a man's dressing. But it leaves the specifics of what is a man's dressing. If we compare what people are wearing during Jesus' time, it's relatively different from what we are wearing today. But there was that accepted code of dressing for men and the accepted code of dressing for women. But today, I have a problem with people who would actually be suggesting that if somebody comes to church with maybe jeans is not supposed to be allowed, because jeans is modestly. If you come to church with a modest dressing, that is okay. We cannot bar people from coming to church because they have dreadlocks, and yet these people, their heart is clean. Would you rather have somebody who is completely shaved but is hating their brother, or a person who has dreadlocks and is having a pure heart? That is what Jesus was actually talking about when he even talked about, do you save your donkey which has fallen on a well on a Sabbath day, or you just leave it there to die? Because he was addressing the issue of what we portray physically than what we actually portray from inside. Because what is inside determines what is going to come outside. So do not judge somebody based on how their looks are. In fact, in the book of Leviticus, it even says that you are not supposed to cut your beard or shave your head in a certain way. So right now, probably I would be sinning because of how I am shaved, or how I am clothed, because I'm wearing two different types of materials. The Bible was very clear that you cannot mix linen and this type of clothing. It's in the book of Leviticus. So it would be wrong to judge somebody based on that. I would rather a pastor or a man of God looks at the whole perspective of a person who comes to church. And in any case, people go to church to get healed. People go to church to get reformed. When they come to church, they need to be delivered, not to be condemned. When Jesus is told about his friend Lazarus, who was dead for 3 days, when he goes and he says, remove the stone. And when they removed, they were saying, oh, it is smelling, oh, blah, blah, all those many things. But Jesus says, unwrap the person. Jesus had the power to tell the cloth, the linen, to be unwrapped. He could order that. But he told the people, unwrap him. Remove the linen slowly, meaning it's deliverance. Deliverance has to be gradual. You cannot expect to feed a young baby with githeri. You have to feed him with something that is soft. As they grow, they will start getting the harder food and they will understand the context.
It is very nice for churches to use social media, the faith-based messages to be shared via the social media platforms so that it can reach to even whoever is somewhere else not reachable. And again, back to you. There are those parents who are overwhelmed with their children using smartphones or using phones. What can be your message to such parents? Because we believe most of the youth, they are addicted to phones. And now there are those parents that they don't want to see their loved ones using phones. At times when they go to the village, to their places where they come from, maybe from the city, to Kakamega, to Mombasa, to any other place, they reach there, their parents like, oh no, don't use this phone, this is not bad. So to such parents, what's your message?
We will never do away with smartphones and technology. These are technology that we have to live with them. And we have to coexist with technology one way or another. But one of the things that we advise parents, especially as child online protection ambassadors, is we first tell them they need to come up with rules on how the phones will be accessed by their young ones. If a child is coming from school, you have to know, you have to provide certain hours that you want the child to have the phone. Not letting the child go to the bedroom with a smartphone and use it over the night and they're going to school the following day. So you have to limit the time. Number two, you also have to agree by being role models. And you agree that when it comes to eating dinner or lunch or whatever meals, no phones. Let's keep our phones away. And you start, leading by example. So you do that. Number three, you must ensure that you have connected or linked all the social media sites that the child is using to your own email or to your own phone in one way or another. That one prevents them from accessing sites that can be able to trigger them going to places that are not all right. If you do that and you link, you can even monitor what the child is doing. There are a number of softwares today that are there in the market that actually can also monitor what your child is doing. So parents are advised at home to ensure that they look for those softwares that can be able to help them. And number three, and that is most important, is actually teaching the child that this is something which is good, but it can also have adverse effects. So you have to equip them with the knowledge that you need to use it in a progressive way. And if you don't use it in a good way, it can destroy you. And I think the message coming from the parent will actually be more realistic than even the other measures that we're talking about. But in as much as we are putting those measures, we also need to educate them on the dangers of social media sites, that there can be bullies, there can be people that are having bad motive behind, which will be interested in destroying their lives. That is very important. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much on that. And on the same, there are youth who are really struggling with digital life and the spiritual walk. Basically, they're fighting. It's like a battle, This one person is supposed to go to church, he's supposed to go for Bible study, he's supposed to walk on a spiritual way, but again, there is the phone calling, the phone doing this and this. What can you tell to such a person?
The Bible is very clear on what we need to do. Number one, Jesus says, he who loves me will do my commands. Loving Jesus is not just by words. Loving Jesus is by actions. We need to follow it with actions. And actually the Bible even adds and says faith without actions is dead. You cannot be a follower of Christ and you're denying the power of the cross. The Bible says in the book of Timothy, because Paul was advising Timothy, it tells them that in the end times, people will be lovers of themselves. And I think that is where the issue of social media and people having likes comes into play, whereby we want to do things for the likes. We want to do things for people to clap at us, to applaud us. But we do not want to do things to edify the body of Christ or to edify Jesus Christ. So we need to come to a realization that number one principle as a Christian, we have to live the Christ-like life. Meaning you have to be prayerful. You have to testify. You have to be a person who reads the Bible. If you are connected and hooked to the phone so much, when will you get time to read the Bible? When will you get time to study the Bible? When will you get time to pray? So you have to demarcate and you have to put a boundary between what you're doing on social media and what you're doing in real life, because it can be a thief. Remember, the Bible says the devil comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. So ask yourself, is this thing killing what is in me? Is it destroying what is in me, or is it building me up? When you make that decision, then you will have actually made very important steps.
A quick one on the same.
Yes.
Should young people fast from using social media or using smartphones? And if it's so, if it's so, then how are the results? If someone have really tried that approach, how are the results for someone fasting from social media?
When it comes to fasting, fasting helps people in many ways. If it is fasting from food, you realize that your body, I've done a little bit of biology whereby we say when you fast, your body goes into what you call ketones, where your body now is producing energy from within itself. And we are told by biologists and doctors that when your body goes to that level, then you're able to withstand even diseases and many other things. If you fast, and I have tried that myself, when I realized I was so much hooked on my phone, I would even walk while on my phone, you know, oblivious of the dangers of being hit by a car or a thief snatching my phone. And of course, you know, many people can do that. But then I realized that I have to do it deliberately. And how do I do it deliberately? I had to switch my phone at some point. Make sure that from this hour to this hour, I'm not going to access, or rather, I'm not going to use my phone. And that creates a pattern that I can live without using my phone. So sometimes you will send me a text and I'm like, I didn't see the text. Not because I'm deliberate in not seeing the text, it's because I had actually reprogrammed myself to the fact that I don't want to use my phone between this time and this time, because that is the time that I want to study the Bible. That is the time I want to establish real connection with someone, even talk, you know, one-on-one. If I'll be on my phone, then I'll not be able to do that. So we have to, you know, reprogram ourselves so that we understand the importance of fasting on social media, or rather fasting for social media and doing other real life stuff. Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much on that remark. If you can touch a little bit on the common dangers of using smartphones or going online all the time that most of the parents don't understand, and again, some of the church leaders are not aware of.
Number one, we have, let me say this, we have different generations. We have the Gen Z, the millennials, the Alpha, the ones who are upcoming, the baby boomers and the rest. For the old generation that grew up at a time when this social media thing was not there, they will actually be able to cope up. But for the Alpha and the Gen Z and basically the millennials that have been born at a time technology is there, find it very difficult to cope without social media. In fact, somebody says, I realize this, and I'm sure our viewers can relate with this. Try to be outside WhatsApp for a week or a month. Some people will never even reach out. Actually, people reach out to others when they see their status or when they see them online. They will say, hi, I'm checking on you. If you try to use akabambe, amulika mwizi, for some time, you may even forget some people really exist. Because people are on social media, virtually, yes, but they connect with you when they see that you're there. If you have to understand that social media is has some effect, and I'll give those effects.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you realize when you stare on your screen for long, you can even develop actually headaches because of staring on your screen for a long time. There are people who have gotten their vision has been affected because of, again, staring on the screen for a long time. There are people who have actually seen pop-ups of some sites that are not good. There are people who have actually seen some things being sold, drugs being sold, like vapes and all that, through social media, and they get addicted to drugs. There are people who have been kidnapped from the social media by being lured by people who have bad intentions. There are people who have actually lost their lives just because of being hooked to social media. We saw recently in America a person, a 16-year-old who, I don't know if it was 16 or 14, who committed suicide because he was having a chat with the chat GPT. And it actually convinced him it was the best idea for him to kill himself, to kill herself. So those are some of the bad effects that are there with social media. But as I said, can we all leave social media? No, because we have had good the good side of the social media. So we really have to establish, as I said, the boundary between the use of social media and the disuse of social media. We must establish that boundary.
So lovely viewers, you can hear, you need to just create a boundary between the use of social media and your other time, because you understand there is a certain performance that a student was performing last year at State Lodge Sagana, and it was basically talking about the use of smartphone in relation to now the parents. You see, parents now, they are not taking time to advise their own children, because if they get home after eating, after doing this, everyone goes to his or her phone, no communication, the child goes to sleep, and we lose now the social life of that kid. We lose the culture that kid is supposed to grow with. So social media is good, but again, there should be boundaries. Now, a quick one on the same about social media, at the perspective of it being a platform. Of course, it is a good platform, but again, how is it affecting the behavior and the mindset of this particular generation, the Gen Z? Because now the Gen Z, they've dealt so much in social media than even looking upon the culture. We are losing the culture as a nation. We are losing the culture from where people come from. When they come to Nairobi, they live alone, their cultural lifestyle, and then they live per the city's lifestyle style. And again, I understand social media is good. It connects people from here. I can communicate with someone who's in London, but again, it connects me with someone who's in London in a good way, and again in a bad way. I don't know if it's in a bad way. Your perspective, I will leave you unto that. If